okay? So I have no clue what she's going to say. Well, I was married to her, so I'm sure I believe in most of the stuff she's going to say tonight. So. Love you, Brooke. Enjoy, okay?
Sit down, enjoy the ride.
Right?
Hey, Peter. So I have a little piece of paper coming around with a red pen. I don't know where it is in the audience. Right here. I think the front row still needs to do it. I'm having everybody just write down what they would consider evil at the beginning of the talk right now. Yeah, whatever may seem evil to you. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. I'm just here to talk about something that I find super fascinating. And have always found super fascinating. So, you guys just let me know where most of us has filled it out. If you haven't gotten to it, just pick out something in your mind, something that might feel evil. Now, can we define that? Does anybody have like a good adjective?
Illuminati.
Bad.
Bad.
Evil is bad. It's
Okay.
worse than bad.
Is
It's
it
beyond
disgusting?
bad, yeah.
Immoral, maybe? So if we look up, hi Carol. Hi sweetheart. How are you? Good. I'm really happy with everybody that's here. I promise I'll make it worthwhile. Hi Jerry. Oh, lots of beautiful faces.
But your memory's still good.
Thank goodness, huh?
You know what? You remembered everyone.
So I'm here to just kind of talk about the things that haunt us, right? And for most of us, what can haunt us is our own fears. It's our own misunderstanding of things, our worries, and our anxieties, right? So when we think about evil, that would be kind of the darkest and the scariest word on that thing that we're scared of, right? There's not many things that would make you scream and pee your pants and run out of the house right now, but maybe something that evil, like, that would evoke that sense of fear within you, right? Now, just showing a general set of hands, can anybody raise their hand where they feel like they've actually experienced something truly evil? So something that was outside of their control. Is it mysterious in nature? Like something completely unknowable?
You're keeping this totally light right now. Guitar.
I love the guitar. So those of you that showed your hands, would you say that it's something like unknown, something that was misunderstood, perhaps? Something that like scared the bejesus out of you because it didn't fit into any other box, right? Because we can even kind of think of psychopathic behavior as something that's very misunderstood, something that maybe we can't relate to, right? So before we define it, before we like really put a parameter on what evil may be, I'd like to just talk about this symbol here. Raise your hand if you're familiar with this symbol. So most everybody in the room has seen the yin-yang at some point. The yin-yang is just an interpretation of all that exists. This is one interpretation of all of the forces that exist here on Earth, right? Does anybody know the color of the white side? If that's yin or yang. So the white side is the yang. Yeah, Kevin knew. Kevin's like, I know that one. And the dark side is the yin. So these are the masculine and feminine forces that are constantly in rotation according to Taoist and Buddhist principles, where they accept this symbol. This is what it symbolizes, right? The constant changing between the masculine and the feminine forces, right? So, if this represents the universe as we know it, where does evil fall on it?
Dark side.
Yeah.
Obviously. Obviously it's the dark side, right? Alright, so would it be up top or would it be down low? Richard, you are coming up here. Just circle where you think evil would fall on the yin-yang. Very, very interested in where you're going to circle. You will be graded upon it.
I'm doing what?
You will be graded upon it. So you're circling where evil exists. In this is our universe, and evil exists in it.
Okay.
So where does it exist in the universe? Just sit with it. We'll give you 60 seconds. We'll give you 60 seconds. Then you gotta pick a spot.
And you should put an X on it? Or?
Yep.
That's kind of hard to say, because the bright spot is the center, and you'd think it would be there, but this, whatever.
But you thought about the bright spot. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Joey, do you have a different spot? I'm interested in Joey's spot. Let's see where the men would
Do I
put
get to sit
it.
down now?
You can. Thank you, Richard. You did a great job. Remember your spot?
Okay.
The whole world is evil. Wants to be saved.
Okay. But this is also
Joey's
for
kind.
this is also for good too. Okay. It's kind of
So
like
you're
a
including
both
the
thing.
void and all that exists.
Well, I didn't.
Like
Okay.
that.
The void is. That's all. So it's everywhere. It is everything, but good is also.
He likes the blackboard.
Okay, so hold on. Where would love exist then? It's the same circle?
Yeah, wait a minute. You know what? Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Love's the entire thing.
So they embody each other. Are you saying they exist simultaneously, Joey?
Duality. You can't have one without the other. Did I just finish the entire talk?
A plus. We're done.
Haircut featuring Jerry.
Before we move on, let's just take that in. You know, in America, we don't have symbols that represent like all of the universe, but if you really sit with it, it's really awesome. There's lots of different symbols that we can have to embody the universe, and it makes things more miniature. It makes us able to understand certain things better. So bonsais came from wanting to miniaturize landscapes to like really take in how things fit together. So symbols are how the old wizards and scholars and alchemists broke down the forces of the universe so that we could better understand what was going on here. So the yin-yang is one of the simplest reductions of life itself. And there's a lot that we can grasp in it. Both of our forces, how the forces need each other. Can anybody think of a physical representation of the yin-yang? Or the light and the dark coming together to create something else? Any gardeners out there?
Oh.
Sunrise.
Oh.
Pendulum, breathing in, breathing out. You have anybody make compost? Yeah. You make compost and it's all wormy and it's all dark and it's all gross, and then you just allow it to be exposed to light for like 2 days, and there's just blooming life and vegetation coming out of it. That is the perfect example of what happens when light and darkness touch. That is how things are stirred into life and are created. See, if I were to pick a spot where I think evil exists on the yin-yang, I would think it's the entire line that separates, particularly both circles. Because these are existing in a complete environments of contrast, right? So, if you look up evil, could you hold Rosie for me? Thank you, dear. If you look up evil in the dictionary, it's described. It is a longer definition if we're going to be technical, but I don't really feel like being super technical. But Richard's here, so we'll be technical.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Morally bad, wrong, wicked, depraved. And we are using a descriptive word. Resulting from immoral conduct. It's offensive or disgusting. Love those words. Threatening or bringing misfortune. Causing pain, trouble, misery, or disaster. That's what it's defined as in the Webster. So, what do all these definitions have in common? I'm just going to write a couple of these beautiful words up here.
They're considered negative.
Dysfunction.
They're all extreme.
Could we all describe something a little bit differently on this?
Of course.
Like what I find offensive is most definitely different than what other people find offensive. Even disgusting. I remember one time, Kevin, I had my hands in the compost and it was full of maggots and worms. I looked at him, I was like, this is where life comes from. And he was like really disturbed by me. And I was just like, this is great. You know, our dogs definitely have a different version of poop than we do. You know, does that make them evil? Or does that just make them different? So, I like to describe all of these words as judgments. And when we really think about judgments, they come from our cultural conditioning, they come from what we believe. They are very opinionated perspectives on what we deem as good or bad. Right? So, like, hence anarchy. Anarchy follows in that, like, weird rule where it's like, come on, is it just evil? How much is anybody else fascinated by the spider? Does anybody else have a good relationship with spiders? They're fascinating creatures, aren't they?
What did you just draw?
Crazy pattern makers.
Why did you just draw that?
I feel like he was wrong. I feel like they have 3.
It's a cute little spider, and now it's a scary black widow looking spider.
So, we're dealing with our fears tonight, Joey. Spiders are blind. Most spiders in nature. I'm going to talk about the general spider population.
Did you say blind or blonde?
Blind. Blind. So they don't see. So they actually like hang out and they feel with their sensors into a space that could be like nice and open, right? And then they set up this beautiful silk web that science does not understand at all. And they wait. And when they capture their victims, they normally give them a paralyzing medicine, wrap them in a silk cocoon for 2 days and let them deal with their feelings. And then once they're ready to transition, this spider will move them on to the next portal.
Do you have conversations with
All the time. I do. All the time, Sharon. So they're fascinating creatures. And they really just respect their space. They're like, look, I'm vampiric. I can't handle it. I'm just going to set up this, and whatever the wind blows, it'll be their time to die. And then they like allow them this whole process. You have 2 days of being wrapped in a silk cocoon. I mean, isn't that a nice way to deal with your death? You're like, oh, I'm going to die. It's cool. I'm just going to nap, and I'm going to think about stuff before I get eaten. Yeah. So, spiders normally a visual representation of something haunting, something scary, right? But if you think of just being a spider, are you evil just because this is your nature?
No.
You're just doing your job. You're like, dude, they're going to die. I might as well give them like a really nice exit, right?
Yeah, who knows? It could be like a total like massive high that when they give them that sting.
Yeah. It's like a DMT release and they're just chilling.
Right.
You know, having their reflection on God.
Yeah, right, exactly.
What about the owl? Any owl lovers here? Weird fascination with owls. Those are other creatures of the night that I love. This is my owl. Just accept him. Don't judge him. So owls are blind during the day. So what do you think the light feels like to an owl? Hi, Father. Probably feels horrible. Blinding light that you cannot see into whatsoever, and scorches your eyes when you do try to look into it. So if you're a creature of the night, what is the daytime? What does the light side represent to you?
Oh, the evil for them.
The unknowable.
Unknown.
It's this vast space that like quietly haunts, just it comes in, you can't see anything. You better be in a safe spot no matter what, you know? So, to the owl, what is our knowable universe, those of us that are like walk around in the daytime? Painful, potentially disgusting, potentially offensive. It's the unknowable. It's yes, precisely. So when we look at perspective and we look at judgment, I would like to redefine evil. And I hope that you could potentially consider it. But before I redefine it, I'd like to read some stuff up on it. Because if you have a chance to read poetry, you read poetry. Are you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Khalil Gibran is one of my favorite poets of all time. And in the book The Prophet, if you haven't read it, you're missing out because it's unbelievable. And he ends up distilling down chapters of life. Clothes, marriage, love, death, laws, beauty, all these things that we're all fascinated by. And he gives you a 2-page dissertation of a poet's interpretation of these things, and it's awesome. So, someone asked, "Speak to us of good and evil." And he answered, "Of the good in you I can speak, but not of the evil. For what is evil but good tortured by its own hunger and thirst? Verily, when good is hungry, it seeks food even in dark caves, and when it thirsts, it drinks even in dead waters. You are good when you are one with yourself, yet you are not one. When you are not one with yourself, you are not evil. For a divided house is not a den of thieves, it is only a divided house. And a ship without a rudder may wander aimlessly among perilous isles, yet sink not to the bottom. You are good when you strive to give of yourself, yet you are not evil when you seek gain for yourself. For when you strive for gain, you are but a root that clings to the earth and sucks at her breast. Surely the fruit cannot say to the root." So the fruit's asking the root. This is the world that poets live in. You ready? "Be like me, ripe and full, and ever giving of your abundance. For to the fruit, giving is a need, as receiving is a need to the root. When you are good, when you are fully awake in your speech, yet you are not evil when you sleep while your tongue staggers without purpose. And even stumbling speech may strengthen a weak tongue. You are good when you walk to your goal firmly and with bold steps, yet you are not evil when you go thither limping. Even those who limp do not go backwards. Be you who are strong and swift. See that you do not limp before the lame, deeming it kindness. You are good in countless ways, and you are not evil when you are not good. You are only loitering and sluggard. Pity that the stags cannot teach swiftness to the turtles." Judgment, huh? "In your longing for your giant self lies your goodness, and that longing is in all of you. But in some of you that longing is a torrent rushing with might to the sea, carrying the secrets of the hillside and the songs of the forest. And in others it is a flat stream that loses itself in angles and bends and lingers before it reaches the shore. But let not him who longs much say to him who longs little, Wherefore are you slow in halting? For the true good ask not the naked, where is your garment, or the houseless, what has befallen your house." We're all part of the ecosystem. We all have our gifts. The snake keeps an eye on the whole population. Every good garden has at least one snake in it, making sure everything is fine, everything is balanced. Joey, could you bless us with your tenor and read us these 2 paragraphs of the Tao? In 1 minute, not quite yet.
Don't get so excited.
We're going to go ahead and define love as I like to define love. The way Webster likes to define it, because Richard is here. A deep, tender feeling of affection for or an attachment to a person or persons, an expression of devotion, or a feeling of brotherhood or goodwill towards others. That's what we love. I like defining love as an energy that radiates from your heart when you are connected with your divine source. Whatever source may be for you. Source may be joy, source may be gratitude, source may be grace. Whatever source is for you, when we're connected to that, that's when we become more infinite. So, how do we feel about evil right now?
Well, I noticed from the beginning that evil spelled backwards is live.
Yes.
Whoa.
Isn't that cool?
Whoa, my God.
So, I really believe that
Good stuff.
But it also has the word vile in it. B-I-L-E, so it's
Alright,
interesting. It's a two-edged sword.
Yeah.
Unveil.
I'm sorry I walked in after you already started, so maybe you covered this, but if we didn't have the dark, if we didn't have the light, I mean, we have to have both in order to know the difference.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole yin yang is about how things move together to create life. Because if you're only existing in one, then you don't have any life. If you're only existing here, you don't have any life. So they have to be married to create something new. Kevin has taught me a very valuable lesson about light and dark, and about health and not health. And it's that there's only one of the forces, and it's just the knob that you dial. So, Kevin, if you don't mind, could you make the room dark?
Sure.
Could you make the room light?
Oh.
Did you flick the same switch to do that?
Yes, I did.
There was no dark switch, right? You didn't add a dark light.
Yeah. Took
It
it
was
out.
just one light, right, that you
Yes.
add. So, if this is the energy that the whole universe is dependent upon, any disagreements there? Love is what holds all of us together. It's what binds us. It's what creates everything. It's what keeps us alive here. I believe that this is just the absence of love. The absence of compassion. So I think that if we started to treat the unknowable and the things that we are afraid of with unconditional love, and we allow ourselves to bring light to the unknowable within ourselves and within others, we actually will be healing whatever it is that we deem evil. Because even if we were to take whatever evil thing you wrote on your piece of paper now, right, that you've had next to you, I'd like to do this exercise. Did anybody write like Hannibal Lecter or like any psychopath or
Trump.
Oh,
Hitler, or like any of those?
Took the worst hit.
no, but I wrote serial murderers and stuff like that.
Yeah, Hitler's
Serial
like a good
murderers.
example.
I wrote hate.
Yeah, beautiful.
You wrote hate.
Yes.
I have also hate.
So when you think about, I didn't write heaven and hell on here, but when you actually think of like eternal damnation, right? If you live eternally in a space of fear, if you tune your body into what fear feels like, true fear, terrified fear, it's a schizophrenic energy that consumes you. And when you think about living in that, that's all hell would be, is just being tuned into that at all times. But as soon as,
And I learned in a literature-based Bible class that the very original meaning of hell, like the original space of hell, was not fiery, it was not painful. The only torture that existed there was that there was nothing that connected you to source. The absolute worst torture of the original version of hell was the absence of love's voice and connection to source.
Thank you. Truth. I don't know about you guys, but this is truth. This is truth to me, at least. However you feel about it after, I hope it's influenced you a little bit in how we think of each other, how we think of our ecosystem, how we think of all of the little roles that we play here, even the Hitlers and the Trumps and the... I can't believe I just married those two in the same sentence, but we did it.
Jesus.
All we do is add love. The only thing that we can do is add love. I have a really amazing opportunity right now where I live with a medicine man, and I witness him do exorcisms in people. And it's always the same for him. He's like, it's non-judgment, unconditional love. That's it. The forces that he crafts within his being to exercise or whatever, all of this scary stuff, non-judgment and unconditional love. The most powerful forces on the planet. Isn't that cool? That's it. That's all we gotta get good at. Joey, could you bless us with what the Tao Masters say?
What do the Tao Masters say today? The Tao doesn't take sides. It gives birth to both good and evil. The Master doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners. The Tao is like a bellows. It is empty yet infinitely capable. The more you use it, the more it produces. The more you talk of it, the less you understand. Hold on to the center.
Could you stand and read that one more time? I'd like to just hear it one more time from you.
The Tao doesn't take sides. It gives birth to both good and evil. The Master doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners. The Tao is like a bellows. It is empty yet infinitely capable. The more you use it, the more it produces. The more you talk of it, the less you understand. Hold on to the center.
Thank you.
Funny, I saw the same expression through every just like,
Things to consider. So, the owl, the spider, the yin yang. How do we feel? Any questions, comments, concerns? What's up, Richard?
No, just, one of the guidelines that I was looking at was whether the definition of evil would match Monsanto. And definitely the absence of love and so forth is the evil in that corporation.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So what do we do?
We love them.
We love them hard. Whatever we feel like is brewing that, we just can send them a really powerful space of love. I actually learned something from my mom that I feel like is amazing. Can you hold Rosie? Thank you. Have you guys heard of the Ho'oponopono prayer?
Uh-huh.
They call it like the most powerful prayer that's ever come out of Japanese or Hawaiian culture. This is the age we get to live in. We have abundant resources in comparison and contrast, so take full advantage of it. How do all the temples open around all of the earth? They open the same way: fire, earth, air, water, offering to the angels. It's all the same. Making a sacred space is the same no matter what country, no matter what continent. It's unbelievable. So the powerful prayers are fun to know because they work. So the Ho'oponopono prayer is, I'm going to be so disappointed if I don't know this by heart. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. So anyone that you feel has done you wrong or you have done wrong, when we bring them to our consciousness, if we just say this over and over and over and over, like a spell, like a love spell, like a beautiful, direct love beam, this is my solution to the world's problems. We just do this for eternity and we're gonna figure it out. Because what happens is love is miracles. It's just miracles upon miracles. So just like Monsanto, this would be a really nice thing to write on a piece of paper. Monsanto, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And just keep that under your bed or something. Because this has all the juju in it to awaken love. And no matter how depraved and no matter how dark and no matter how far away they are, if we greeted anything, like a schizophrenic ghost with this, how it's like greeting a wild creature that's just afraid, you know? If you think about, has anybody ever approached a wild cat and you're just like, hi, are you okay? I just want to make sure you're all right. This is how we can treat people that are capable of supposed evil, because they're just freaking out. So we just treat them like we would like a small creature. And this is how we soothe. Jerry, you have something.
No, nothing good.
Any more? Talk to me.
So I was on tour out in California, and I met a shaman woman who I knew the Ho'oponopono prayer, and I practiced it often.
Cool.
But she turned it around for me, and the way she turned it around, and I thought it was a great way of looking at it, was she put "I love you" first.
Yeah, I do that sometimes too.
I love you
Yeah.
first. I recognize the divine within you because we're all
Cool.
divine. And I am sorry that you had to step into the role of Monsanto, of Trump, or whatever.
Whatever they symbolize for us.
I'm sorry that you had to step into the role and separate yourself from your divine self. For me to get the lesson.
Exactly.
For me to get the lesson. So please forgive me. Thank you. So I'm going to say it again. I love you. I recognize the divine within you because it's within each and every one of us. And I'm sorry that you had to step into this role that separated you from your divine self so that I could get the lesson. Please forgive me. Thank you. And when she turned that around, I could feel it so much more.
Cool.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Makes
Wow.
Like an inside out gift package there.
It was really great. Yeah.
Because that's so, like, if you think about like how we learned the lesson from Hitler, it's about judgments. It's about the manifestation of everybody's inner judgments, and it was like, okay, let me show you what pure judgment looks like,
Even
so that you
Monsanto.
can learn. Let me
show you what like real food looks like compared to not real
what
food, so you
actual
can really want the real stuff.
Yeah, it's like the toxic treatment of the earth, and that's kind of like the lesson that we're going through now.
If you look at the Cambodian temples, which are like, sorry, Sharon, come on. We didn't give you enough attention here, did we? If you look at the Cambodian temples, they have like a horizontal representation of the yin and the yang. It's so cool. And there's this like Shiva having two snakes around him being pulled on each side. And it's the growth, it's like we are moving up in vibration only because we have both light and the dark. Without this mechanism, we don't learn anything. We just do the same stuff. But if we can, like the Taoists, just stay in the center and accept the forces of both sides and see the beauty of both sides, then we can just hold that space of love and understand that like the universe is just falling into its perfect place. So to stand here, unconditional love and non-judgment. Evil. We covered it. I love you guys so much. Thank you for accepting me. Thank you for hearing whatever you needed to hear. I love you.
Where's your song?
Oh,
You have the guitar. You have to sing a song.
I could do a quick little ditty. Oh, she's not letting me
Quick
out of
little
here
ditty.
without playing a song.
Right.
Play us out. Oh, if I knew Shine Your Light, this would be a perfect time for it. Ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. Allow yourself to float away to higher and higher place. Oh, I can feel it slip away. Oh, how we fade. We don't need to hold on so tight. Ooh, to what you feel so right. Just allow yourself to fade. How I love you, oh I do. We don't need what we think we do, no. Allow yourself to fade, just fade away. Allow yourself to